right, my friends, J.R. Dukes with you. I appreciate everybody joining me today. Give me 1 second. We just hit the buttons and everything should be working. Want to say hello quickly to all the viewers out there. Appreciate you taking time to join me. Hello to everyone on Rumble and my friend on Twitch and, of course, YouTube community. Thanks, everybody, for joining. We're going to have a special guest today, and tonight is an open mic session. So if you would like to join either by phone or video, feel free to do so. I'm going to post that link into the comments so that you can go ahead and join if you'd like to do so. Hello to everybody. American Nana, thanks for joining today. It's good to see you. Good to have you in the chat. By the way, I appreciate everyone's comments. By the way, I try to get to the subscribers first and foremost. It's always good to hear from everybody. Zach, it's always a pleasure to have you in the house. I hope your cats are doing well, my friend. All right, here we go. Looking good. Everything seems like it's working. Everybody can see us. And Rosemary, it's always a pleasure to have you in the chat, young lady. Thank you for being here. And everybody's saying hi to everyone. All right, fantastic, everyone. Thanks for being here. If you haven't done so, please take a moment, introduce yourself, let us know where you're from. One thing about this community, we have a ton of folks from all over the world, and it's fun. It's fun to chit-chat. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Just to kind of give you a brief overview, we're going to be talking about current events and talk about essentially all these things that's been going on this past week or so since we've talked last. Obviously, there's a lot of developments, and we're going to have to talk about it and kind of sign off about it here. And all right, and Michael, thanks for joining us from Mexico, expat. Yeah, I know how that is in the expat community. It's a lot of fun to live abroad. I like to go to Costa Rica every once in a while. It's been a while since I've been able to go, but I enjoy going to the beach, aka the La Playa. It's a lot of fun. Lots of expats around there that you can visit with. And, of course, we got our friend Sapphire Ridge in the house. All right, well, let's jump into it right away, folks. We're going to go ahead and bring in our friend who happens to be Sapphire Ridge. Sapphire, appreciate you joining us today. How's everything with you going, my friend?
Going good.
All right, good. And you're joining us from the great state of?
Montana.
All right, that's right. Yeah, we were talking about it earlier. You're not too far away from where that trial is going to be going on, right? As far as that college killings or whatever that is?
Yeah, the Brian Kohlberger trial.
The Sermon Files, thanks for being here from Midland, Texas. Appreciate it. Yeah, that Brian Kohlberg trial, that's exactly what I was thinking there. Let me drop in the... I want to give everybody the address. If you want to join us, you don't have to appear on camera. You can simply just call in. But right there in the chat is the link that I just put in. So don't be afraid to click it and give us a call. We welcome all points of view, whether or not you agree with what I have to say or I don't have to say, whatever the case may be. One thing about it, if you notice looking at the live chat or just the chats on any of the videos that I put out and that I produce, I always respond to each and every comment, even if it's not something that I believe or agree to. And I appreciate that from everyone that is a subscriber and a viewer. It's nice to have different points of views. And I appreciate the way everybody, for the most part, is respectful and polite. There's no need to have this nasty cursing, this this pure hatred that's going on. It's unfortunate that our country is so divided, but friends, remember this: we are a divided country, and we've always been a divided country. And if you don't know this might make you feel better about even our present situation. We have countries all over the world. It's probably the norm that countries have internal strife, internal problems. If you don't believe that, just go over to Spain. They actually have sections of the country that are right now trying to literally become independent. It is just something I think is inherent in human beings. It's just human nature. People fight. People are divided. But I'm a strong believer that there is a lot more that brings us together than divides us. Now, that's not to say that there's not serious problems going on right now with our country. There's obviously very serious issues. Our way of life is at stake. The country becoming socialistic versus staying a constitutional republic. I mean, I clearly think there are differences that are worth discussing, worth outing. It's important that it all comes to the forefront so we can all get rid of this indoctrination and make a clear choice using our own brains. I'm a firm believer that each and every one of us has the ability to put our emotions aside and make a choice in this election and pertaining to all the subjects that are dividing us right now. So I just encourage everybody to understand that. And call me an optimist, whatever, so be it. I'm a firm believer that the best days are yet ahead of us right now. Right now, it may seem very problematic that everything's very divided. And again, I don't want to sweep under the rug the fact that we have a lot of problems going on, but we have a lot of blessings right here in America. I'll get off my soapbox in one second, but I want everybody to understand this. Even a poor person in the United States is in fantastic shape right now. And you may be thinking, what's this guy talking about? He's off his rocker today. Well, Mark, I'm sure you agree with this. Even a pharaoh or a king from 3,000 years ago would be happy to trade places with just an average or even a poor class American, financially speaking, of course. And you'd be like, well, what are you talking about? Well, first of all, versus now versus many years ago, everything is better. We have access to medications. We relatively have a safe country. We have a long expected, on average, life expectancy is much better than what it was, say, during the Pharaoh's time. I mean, at the turn of the century in 1900, the average lifespan in America was only 45 years of age. Throughout human history, it's been the case that women had a really good chance of dying during childbirth, especially when I'm talking about like back in the Egyptians' times or the Pharaoh's time or whatever. I mean, just pick your time period. On a macro level, we have it so well and we're so blessed. Healthcare, food, even a poor person in the United States generally has air conditioning, generally has refrigeration, access to clean running water. Dirty water used to kill tons of people, not that many years ago. It's only been since the 1940s that we've had antibiotics to relieve infections and to save our children from dying as children because of some simple infection that they would catch. Before that, I believe they had penicillin, but that wasn't until like the 1920s. I may be off plus or minus 10 years on these dates, but I think I'm making the point that everybody needs to understand. We are so blessed, and most of us in this country never really has known true starvation. We have not known a time where we didn't have access to clean running water. And we generally live in relative safety. If you look again at a macro level over time, man, we are very, very blessed. Any comment, Mark, on that?
Yes, we are very blessed. Um, this is just
I think it's something that most people just are not that aware of. I don't think a lot of people
right.
appreciate just how blessed we are and all the blessings that's in our lives. I think we fight so much and we're at each other's throats so much that we don't take a second to just take a pause back and say, man, I am really fortunate. My children are healthy, relatively speaking. They have access to medical care. We have the ability to better ourselves in this country. For the most part, any other country you live in the world, I mean, almost every country, very few exceptions to this rule. If you're born into a particular class, you're stuck in that class. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, there's a reason why people are literally dying to cross the border.
Right.
And it's because you have a chance here. This country is free, relatively speaking. And although we have a lot of problems, we have a lot of great blessings that has come from our creator. And it's just that simple. Let me check out our comments right here. Go ahead, Mark. If you got a comment, go
I
ahead.
have an example of pricing. Last July at the McDonald's here in town. Now I live in a small town, probably max 2,000 people. And it's 2 miles by 3 miles. Last July, a double Big Mac meal, which is 2 Big Macs, fries, and a drink, was $20. This July, it's almost $29. It's gone up $9 in a year.
No, the inflation's out of control, and that's going to be something Kamala Harris is going to have
Yeah.
to explain and discernment. You are right. See, Bush Jr. did more damage than Obama. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but you're welcome to, if you like, go ahead and click and join us for a conversation. I'd be happy to discuss that exact subject with you. We don't bite here. We're very friendly, very easy to get along with. And you are right. The sermon on J6. These people getting 20 years under the Patriot Act. You know what? If there's anything good about what Donald Trump just went through with this lawfare, and I mean, what a serious consequential lawfare situation this is. I mean, it is just a shame to see what the Democrats are trying to do to our country and using other aspects of our government to essentially corrupt itself and to take out political rivals and political enemies. It was never designed to be like this. But if there's any good that will come from this lawfare situation, is number one, it's exposed. We can all see it. And I think that's why a lot of minorities actually relate with Donald Trump at this particular point. They have been through the system. They have seen how the system can be unfair. At a minimum, the system is two tiered. There's a system when you have money. There's a system when you don't have money. There's a system when you are the party in power. There's a system when you're not the party in power. And I think that that's been very obvious. As a matter of fact, we could probably argue there is a 4-tier justice system, depending on how you're going to slice it up. Maybe we could just call it a 3-tier, depending on what side of the power docket you're on. But you understand my point. And even Donald Trump has made comments that he's going to do a lot more reviewing if he's reelected. Hopefully he is. He's going to review a lot of things that's going on in our country. And the January 6th situation is one of the things that he's going to review, and it should be reviewed. I think his words were something to the effect of, it's a tough system. It's really difficult to get in there and to get a fair shake. What do you think on that, Mark?
A lot of those January 6 people are sitting in jail, have not yet been arraigned yet. Some of them are in solitary confinement. For what? They haven't been charged with anything yet. They haven't gone to trial yet. The one guy, his name is David, that was just released, said they put him in solitary 23 hours of the day with zero warning. They would just grab him saying, "Come on, you're coming with us," and throw him in there and leave him there.
Or give me one second. I got to call this out real quick. Logan Black, $1.99. I appreciate that, my friend. Thank you so much. By the way, folks, if you want to support the channel, just a brief announcement here. I have a new Cash App account, and you can simply just click on that at any time. Let me see if I got it right here. I'll pull up here in a second, but you can simply just, the Cash App is simple. It's the $ and pay at JR Duke. So it is definitely appreciated. Logan, again, appreciate the super chat. You guys rock. Keep on telling the truth. My friend, I sincerely appreciate that. Make no mistake about it. I'm like Mark. I don't do this for the money by any stretch of the imagination. But what I will tell you is it does help keep the lights on, so to speak. It pays for the software. It pays for just the different research things that I pay for. It's not really a whole lot of money, but it is appreciated. And I appreciate each and every one of you who contribute, support, and otherwise help the channel out. And it's not lost on me. So thanks again, my friend. I appreciate that. So Mark, you can go ahead and finish up your comment there.
Yeah. That was nice.
Yeah.
That guy gave you $1.99.
No, that was, yeah. You were talking about, I interrupted you a second ago. Did you have anything else you wanted to say, generally speaking, on the January 6ers, what we were talking about?
Oh, many of the January 6ers are still awaiting trial. And the guy that just got out, David, he was the guy that went to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said they overcharged him and cut him loose. He said, what they do with us is put us in solitary 23 hours a day. You get 1 hour to shower and eat, and then you go back. He said, and you never know when you're going to be put in solitary, they just come and say, come on with us and drag you along.
That's an important issue you bring up on the, if your audio wasn't 100%, he was talking about the fact that in a lot of these prisons, the individuals, especially individuals that fall out of favor with whoever is running the prison system, they end up in what's called solitary confinement, which is what it sounds like. You're in a room all by yourself. And that doesn't sound like a big deal. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you, it is a torture. It's a form of torture. Luckily, I've never had to experience that myself. I hope I never have to. But even under the Geneva Conventions, I believe that was back in the 1930s, it's identified as a form of torture, and it's forbidden for prisoners of war or people captured during wartime. It is something that will drive anybody insane sooner or later. If you don't believe me that it's torture, take my word for this. Go into your bathroom. It's about the correct size of a cell that you'd be placed in. And I want you to simply just leave a light on all the time. Don't turn the light off. Forget your phones. Forget any type of radio. Forget nothing. And without going to sleep, just try to see how you're doing after 3 hours. I mean, you're going to start climbing those walls really, really quick. It is torturous. And although I'm a firm believer in the police and supporting the police, I don't want to sound like Kamala Harris for 1 second. But what I will tell you is there's certain things in our prison system that we do need to look at and review to see if it's the kind of society we want to have. It's just my opinion. Reasonable people can differ with that, but I for one do not believe that those type of prisons are warranted. Maybe there are special individuals that's warranted for somebody like the Boston bombers or some of these terroristic suspects, something along them lines. But somebody that's a white collar criminal that cheated on their taxes, I just don't think so. That's just not something that I go for. Let me go through these comments again. Zach, in general, the poorest Americans are wealthier than. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Richer than in the other countries. Well put, my friend. Yeah, well, we may be living in a Russian type revolution. American Nana, I feel blessed too. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, convenience. Yeah, it is true, discernment. You're right about that. It's the way I've always said it is that comfort is the enemy of achievement. And I think that that's a very true statement. I'm not trying to say that it's bad to be blessed or it's bad to have comfort, but in our own minds, I always talk about that free mind, talk about it all the time. It relates back to even the Matrix back in I think it was a 1999 movie. I talk about that all the time. And just for the record, I was talking about the free mind way before that movie came out or way before that In Vogue song came out, I believe 1994. It's just something I think is right on the spot. It highlights something that we all need to be thinking about. It is, where do we find balance in our lives? How do we put ourselves in a situation where we're just not manipulated by everyone and their brother? And I don't know, at least for me, that's what I'm talking about when I talk about these particular subjects. For example, comfort, there's nothing wrong with comfort, but you need to be disciplined in your mind enough. You just can't live in a constant state of comfort. Sometimes you have to get uncomfortable. You have to make yourself uncomfortable so you can achieve, so you can fight. I mean, even this evening, I can go in my living room in there and I could pop back and relax and sit with my girlfriend and my dog and just have a relaxing evening. Or I can say, no, I'm not going to get comfortable right now. I got to talk to my friends out here. I got something I got to say. I want to make whatever contribution and difference I can. And I go through the motions to do what I got to do. You get that, Mark? You ever feel that way yourself?
Yeah, I do. I do where I feel that way. But
well, I think we all have to check our own lives.
Yeah, we cannot let ourselves get complacent, because when you get complacent, the other side wins.
Absolutely. American Nana, I live in West Virginia, and I am high middle income here, but in Boston I was poor. It does make a difference. And discernment, average Americans can't open a can of beans without. Yeah, I think we all could benefit by learning and by getting uncomfortable once in a while and just trying to learn something that you may not be aware of, just in case times do go bad at some point in the future. You just never know. Life life is life. It's just really really that simple. Some countries have to import, yeah, most of their staples. We are so blessed here in America. I saw a report not long ago just talking about the way our country is laid out. I mean, you want to see God's fingerprint on our country. The fact that we have an ocean on each side of the continent protecting us from foreign invaders. We are lucky to have a friendly country to the north, Canada, and to the south, Mexico. And we're not like in Europe, or we're not Ukraine, where we basically have the option, or I should say more accurately, Poland, where if an army comes this way, you're toast. An army comes the other way, you're toast. We are just so fortunate. Our country itself has natural barrier islands all the way around it. We have tons of natural ports for ships to come in and dock. The Mississippi River takes care of roughly 2/3 of the country as far as access to the country by the waterway, which is the number one way to quickly and properly go ahead and develop an area. And it's just that our country obviously has been set up from its inception to be great. It's just amazing. And I'm not even scratching the surface on how long I can talk about that. It's truly amazing, all the fine details pertaining to our country. I think that's probably the best way to say it. All J6 people never got, or yeah, they a lot of them did not get what they should have gotten as far as proper adjudication of their potential crimes. How about that one cop that shot that former Marine, that woman crawling through a window? They broke the glass out. She's crawling through it. He shot her dead. And that cop has not faced any type of punishment. Matter of fact, I think he was given an award. Go ahead, Mark.
If you rewatch the video, she was not anywhere near the window. It was someone else that was crawling through the window, and he shot at the window and shot her in the face.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And you know, a lot of people don't know this, but the same police officer that shot this woman and killed her dead, she was unarmed. I got to mention that, right? Unarmed, shot her dead. This is the same guy that years ago, you remember on the news that they found a gun in one of the bathrooms. Well, it turned out he was in there using the bathroom. He left his gun laying on the floor, forgot to put his gun back in his pocket or wherever he's carrying his gun at. That was the same crazy cop that was there. And now he's been awarded, rewarded, whatever you want to call it. I think he even got a medal over it. I mean, right. It just sometimes it feels like everything is just so backwards. You have American Nana stacked against the Patriots.
He's also running for Congress.
Oh, I think I may have heard something like that. If hopefully Donald Trump gets into office, I think there's going to have another look at that case. Again, I want to be careful about that because I don't like this lawfare. I don't like it when it's against the Republicans, and I don't want to see our country where we're going back and forth. One party comes to power, and a whole bunch of people risk going to prison. But unfortunately, that's what it is looking like, and it's got to be stopped. Zach, you are the bomb as always. One of Zach's cats got a hold of the computer again. Zach, you're always a friend of the program and channel here, and it is appreciated, my friend. Thank you for your support. Amazing. He's got like 2 or 3 cats always hitting the keyboards there. There you go. I appreciate you. Thanks again. Hey, Monique, it's good to have you, sweetheart. Thank you for joining us today. Always a pleasure. Okay, Logan, just subscribed. Thank you. Got to run now, but okay, I appreciate that. Thank you for being a new subscriber. You guys are fantastic. Next month, all my bills will be gone. Fantastic. Yeah, anytime you get rid of bills, that's always a good thing. And anytime you can join and be a member, hey, we love that too. Why not, right? Appreciate each and every one of you helping out here. Mind control. Yeah, I think we got most of these here. All righty. That looks good. Say, Zach, many modern conveniences are increase rationalizations and say I can't even read today of everyday life. So many are positive. Yeah, it does take over. We all do that, Zach. We all have these tendencies to be lazy. I think the challenge is, I mean, this channel's not necessarily a motivational channel, but we're all human. We all have these tendencies to be lazy. Sometimes the laziness extends to our brains where we don't think for ourselves. We just listen to what the talking heads on TV have to say. And that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm all about. Don't become indoctrinated with lazy brain. where you're just listening. Oh, okay, that's what I believe. And then you listen to someone, oh, well, that's what I believe now. No, no, no. I want you to think for yourself. I want you to get all the information you can about whatever the subject is and make your own mind up. It's just the way it should be. American Anna, 58, retired, construction worker, got a good spine. That's always good. And yeah. Well, now, don't misunderstand anything I say on this program, folks. Nothing wrong with being comfortable. Amen. Nothing wrong with working your life and taking it easy as you're older. So I don't want anybody, please do not misconstrue anything I say. It's not my intention to swipe anybody. I'm just saying that there are times in our lives where we might want to be uncomfortable because it's going to aid us in achieving our goals. If you're 25 and you're sitting on the couch all day today and playing video games, you may be too comfortable. That's a time of your life you need to be up, you need to be working, you need to be making a difference in the world. It's just my opinion, but it's a strong opinion I have just the same. And I'm sure, Mark, you've served in the military. I'm sure you would agree that you need to get uncomfortable. You need to work.
Yep.
All right. Oh yeah, you're right. The sermon about George Orwell. Yeah, the sermon's making a comment about George Orwell, the 1984 book. A lot of stuff predicted in that book that's coming together now. As a matter of fact, we were having a private conversation about this earlier, Mark, and there's a lot of stuff going on right now in England, of all places, where effectively free speech can now get you thrown in jail. And there are people doing 2 years in jail for reposting a meme that is considered wrong. It's considered harassment of another group. And for that, you can go to jail. And make no mistake about it, the United States is at risk of this themselves. And I'll tell you why we're at risk. It's already existing in a small form. You may have heard of what's called a hate crime. Yep. What the hell is that about? A hate crime? Can anybody clear that up for me? Let me make sure I understand this. A hate crime, is that different than a love crime? I mean, I robbed that bank because I love it. I mean, it just, to me, It sounds stupid. And that is the gateway, in my opinion, to go down this road where you start regulating speech, intentions, this type of stuff. In my opinion, a crime is a crime is a crime. I'm very uncomfortable with the government, these prosecutors, solicitors having that type of power, whether they can take a crime that's normally a 5-year sentence and they can go ahead and multiply it by 5 because they think you didn't like that particular person for reasons that they think should increase the punishment. I just don't like it. I'm not comfortable with it. None of us should put much hope into these solicitors, prosecutors, aka Fannie Willis, Alvin Bragg, Jack Smith. These people are political. They are only in it for themselves, literally. That's a criticism of Donald Trump all the time. But I've got some serious concerns pertaining to all this. And that's right. Zach's got 3 cats on there. Mark, comment on that, on the difference on the road we're going down on this free speech.
Here, this trial that I'm following, the YSL trial, is a good example of a hate crime, but it's not being charged as a hate crime. The DA, Fannie Willis, hates gangs because she blames gangs for killing one of her friends. So she's locking up all the gangs and charging them with RICO charges. And the current case is just a dumpster fire. There's
one thing about Fulton County. They are out of control, period. It's a corrupt county. I've said that forever. It's a corrupt county. They're out of control. I meant corruption with a capital C. When you think of corruption, Fulton County, Georgia is corruption. If it was not for John F. Kennedy when he was president, you would have never heard of someone called Martin Luther King Jr. He would have ceased to exist because Fulton County actually put him in jail, and they were trying to lose the room. Literally, I'm not making this up. It wasn't I think it was 2020, 2021, you had the AJC, Atlanta Constitutional Journal, come out with an article, and it was essentially a statement from Fulton County apologizing to the King family for what they did. It was JFK that literally made a phone call to the powers to be in Fulton County and said, "You release that man. You release him right now. This is not going to happen." So I meant Fulton County has this history of corruption, and it is something that is not, in my opinion, going away anytime soon. So I don't know.
Nope.
Have you heard something like that on Fulton County? I know we've chatted about it
Yeah.
here and there.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Here-
bad.
Here's an example of their corruption. This new judge, I really like her because she's fair in the courtroom. But when
Right.
she writes her motions and rulings, she's a total opposite of what she portrays in the courtroom.
Yeah,
That just blows my mind.
they are definitely corrupt. I've watched some of that trial myself. I don't see how that trial is going to reach a successful conclusion. It needs to be thrown out, needs to be started over. But we're going to
It's
dive
not.
into that.
Monday, the jury comes back, and the new judge already said that she's going to poll the jury and tell them they have to forget this one witness, Kenneth Copeland, and she's going to ask them if they can forget his testimony. And she said anyone that raises their hand and says they can't forget is off of the case.
Yeah, like I said,
And if they
that
get-
case is a complete
Yeah, if they
joke.
get four, I think it's either 4 or 5 that leave, then it's a mistrial because they have no jury.
All right, Mark, I'm going to take a hard switch. We're going to turn. I want to get straight into the polls. This is one of the main things I want to talk about
All right.
tonight. I want to show everybody what I think is going on. If you watch some of my recent videos pertaining to the polls and this electoral college that's going on right now, you may have heard a little bit of this, but I really want to go over the multiple paths that Donald Trump has to victory. Right now, you're essentially hearing everybody on their brothers saying, especially the talking heads on the media, Donald Trump doesn't have a chance. He's going to lose. Kamala Harris has such great momentum. She's the second coming of Barack Obama. Everything is going fantastic for her and her new BFF, Tim Walz from Minnesota. Don't believe it for a second. There's no doubt that this race is going to be closer than what I'd like to see it. I'm really astonished just how many people blindly just walk this democratic Marxist type of ideology. It's just shocking to see. And again, it's one of the many reasons, probably one of the main reasons I actually bother with this channel. People have to understand what's going on and just how crazy this is. This woman, especially with her running mate now, this Kamala Harris, these people are nuts. They are certifiable. They're almost communists. You won't believe what they stand for, and I'm going to be shouting it and screaming it every day I possibly can because everybody needs to understand that. Briefly, if you look at this map, this map here is what Donald Trump won back in 2016. This is the 2016 map that you're looking at. It's a little small on my screen, but I see most of it here. Look at how well this went for Donald Trump. He actually picked up Pennsylvania. He picked up Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona. Now, he did not win Nevada, so what? It's not that important. And of course, he won Georgia. Georgia has for a long time been a Republican stronghold. I believe the last time Georgia actually had a Democratic nominee or they voted Democratic was back with Jimmy Carter back in the 70s. But it has generally always been a very conservative type of area. But this is what you call a very favorable map for Donald Trump. This is exactly what put him in the White House originally. And for those of y'all who may not know, I just want to state briefly so you have an idea of exactly what I'm talking about. And that is, in our country, we do not elect individuals per se, as far as like with senators. In other words, one vote is one vote closer to the White House. It doesn't work like that here in the United States. In the United States, we have this electoral college system. And you may ask, well, why do we have that? Well, our founding fathers wanted to make sure that the president was going to be a person of the entire country. They did not want a president that was only popular in a particular region. And because he's popular in that region, he had enough extra votes, if you will, to where it outweighed the rest of the country. They just didn't want that. They wanted the head of one of the main branches of government, the executive branch. They wanted the candidate to be a candidate of all the people. So depending on the state law in the particular state, when you vote for president, you're actually voting for who your electoral college representatives are going to vote for. And depending on the state, now in Maine, and I believe it's Nebraska, they split their electoral college votes depending on how the vote in the state goes. My personal opinion is that's a mistake that those states make, because a state has more power when whoever is the primary winner, the one who has 50% plus one vote, if you give all your electoral votes to that one candidate, it kind of gives more of a swing with your state, if you know what I'm saying, as far as clubbing the other opponent. And especially when you're a smaller state like Maine or Nebraska and you divide your votes, you just kind of become, you divide your electoral college, you just kind of become almost like a nobody, in my opinion. Just my opinion. Other people may disagree, may differ. So you vote, the electoral college representatives then vote for who the people voted for of their particular state. You need 270 of these electoral college votes to actually be the president of the United States. And as just a quick fun fact, if any particular party or candidate does not receive 270 votes, does anybody know what happens? Anybody? Well, what happens is it goes to the House of Representatives. Yeah, it goes to the House of Representatives for them to sort out. And the House of Representatives is currently ran by the Republicans. So hopefully, if that should happen, it would be a win for Donald Trump if it went to the actual House of Representatives. Again, just a quick background so everybody knows exactly how it's supposed to work with the Electoral College. I have a lot of friends that, frankly, weren't quite sure how that was to work. So I just want to take a minute and go over that with everybody. So here's the map from 2016. You can see why Donald Trump went to the White House back in 2016. And I'll get to everybody's questions here in just a second. I see them coming in, so I'll answer them. Don't worry. Now, this second map right here, what we're looking at is the 2020 election, in which Donald Trump did not win re-election. And you can see the reason for that. You see Arizona went to the Democrats. I believe that, is that blue or purple? I guess that's purple. I suffer with little color blindness. I'm sure you all know by now, but just in case, I do know my colors. I just can't see them half the time. And of course, Georgia is purple. And you have up here, this is at the top, is what they've always called the blue wall. Generally, that's Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Some people also include Pennsylvania as part of that, but generally it's Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan right there at the top of the country at the northernmost boundary. And then, of course, when you add Georgia to that, that really sealed the deal. And Joe Biden, from his basement, amazing, was able to win the presidency. So that's pretty shocking. Now, what you see on your screen right here that's in this lighter area, this is traditionally what we have always considered to be the swing states. I don't consider these necessarily to be swing states, but this is what the pundits generally consider the swing states. And we got Nevada, Arizona, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia. I'm not sure why they put Nevada or North Carolina on this list, because generally they have a pretty consistent history of voting for one party versus the other. However, that's the way the deal is right there. The states that I consider true toss-up states, if you will, I believe the election is coming down to these three states on your screen: Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Pennsylvania, period. This is what's going to decide this election. And I'm going to tell you why in just a second. We're going to dissect this map, and we got this interactive map, and we're going to click on it together. So I think this will give everybody kind of a feel for what's going on. This map here is one of these maps where the pundits will tell you what they think's up for grabs right now. And again, that's all favorable, in my opinion, for President Trump. So, Mark, any comment on that? Otherwise, I'm going to switch to the next map here. I got this interactive I want us to look at.
The one comment I have is Nevada this time, Trump is ahead by like 6 or 7 points.
In Nevada, yes.
In Nevada.
That is a good point. The these particular polls that I have, I got a whole list of polls from all these so-called battleground states. You don't really know what's going to go on right, at the end of the day. But as of right now, you have the Democrats. They're going to go forward with their national convention, and they're going to do what the Republicans did a couple weeks ago. Of course, there's a sugar high for Kamala Harris. Of course, it's going to seem that the polls are going to favor her. But it's not over yet, folks. It's still very early. She's not doing any type of commercials. She's not, or I should say, set down interviews with the mainstream press. It's pretty amazing what she's able to get away with. So let's take a look at this right here together. All right, at the top here, we're kind of dividing down exactly what we believe the totals are going to be. But this is why Donald Trump, in my opinion, has so many more paths to the presidency than Kamala Harris does. Now, let's go ahead and click on this together. We're going to go ahead and hit this purple for Nevada. I'm pretty confident Nevada is going to go for Kamala Harris. It might not. The polls I've been looking at clearly show Trump ahead a point or two, or it's at a top. So let's continue on with this. I don't think anybody that's looking at this objectively can say Minnesota right here in the middle is at play. Even Ronald Reagan never won the state of Minnesota. Minnesota is just a very liberal area. I mean, that's about the only best way I can describe it. It's just the way it's been. Now, it's possible Donald Trump could pull some of the magic out of the hat. I don't know, but I don't see it happening, at least as of right now. And then finally, we have to talk about Georgia. I don't think anybody can honestly say with a straight face that Donald Trump's not going to carry Georgia. I just don't see it not happening. Right now, he's 4 or 5 points ahead, depending on what poll you believe, in the state of Georgia. The state of Georgia has voted for a Republican, like I said, all the way back till you get into the Jimmy Carter years back in the 1970s. And I believe they only voted for him because he is a Georgian. So that's the history of Georgia. You're talking a deep South rural type of country community. I mean, this is the South. You had the Civil War, the North and the South. Georgia was one of the main fixtures of the South, if you will. I just don't see that changing. Again, I could be wrong, but I'm just telling you like I see it. Now, let's take a look at the way this works out right now. Based on what I just clicked, electoral college-wise, Donald Trump could easily have a landslide, easily, as far as the electoral college votes goes. According to this map, the Democrats would have 232 electoral college votes. Republicans would have 251. But for the purpose of this discussion, I want to keep it tight and lean. I want to look at a worst-case scenario for Donald Trump, right? Let's pretend that he loses Arizona. I lived in Arizona at one time. I would be very surprised if Donald Trump loses it again. Remember, he won it back in 2016, lost it in 2020, and the polling right now pretty well shows it at a tie, and there even might be a slight advantage for Trump or a slight advantage for Harris. I could say it's truly a dead heat at this point. So we're going to go ahead and color Arizona purple for this particular region right here. For Arizona. So let me make sure I click it right. Give me 1 second here. Okay. So we got Arizona. Now that brings the Democrats to 243, Republicans at 251. Now here's where it gets interesting. Depending on the polls, right now the polls are showing that Trump might be ahead in Wisconsin, might be a dead heat in Michigan. The key right now is Pennsylvania. Right now, Donald Trump is ahead in Pennsylvania. Again, depending on the polls that you read, and these polls are going to shift and be all over the place. Donald Trump, if you just simply add 19, watch this. Just with Pennsylvania alone, isn't that beautiful? Look at that. 270 electoral votes. Donald Trump would be president of the United States. It doesn't matter. Donald Trump might even win Wisconsin like he did in 2016 and Michigan like he did in 2016. But I want to look at a worst case scenario. I want to say things go terrible in Arizona. I want to say things go terrible in Wisconsin. I want to say that people in Michigan, for whatever reason, decided they're going to drink the Harris Kool-Aid. Well, it doesn't matter. Donald Trump would have 270. The Democrats would have 268 based on this map. And remember, I'm saying Donald Trump takes Georgia, Kamala Harris would take Arizona and Nevada and Minnesota and Wisconsin and Michigan. That's a lot of vans, my friend. That's a lot of vans for her to, it basically as give me's. She's going to have find magic somewhere else. And I might as well mention while we're talking about it, the great state of Virginia, where Governor Glenn Youngkin, now I don't want to get off on this tangent. I personally like J.D. Vance. I'm getting where I like him more. I was really impressed with him getting off that plane and walking over to Kamala Harris's airplane, trying to confront her on the tarmac. In my opinion, that's just badass. I mean, I'm just calling it like I see it. I thought it was. I thought that was very bold. I thought that was a good move on his part to do that. And I'm liking him more and more that I see him, especially compared to her pick, this Tim Walz. What a joke this cat is. I mean, this guy is just a complete mess. Again, we'll get into him get into talking about him at another time. But I got where I like J.D. Vance, but I wish, in my humble opinion, he would have picked someone like Glenn Youngkin, because right here in Virginia, you got 13 electoral college votes. The polling that I'm seeing is showing Donald Trump slightly ahead in Virginia. And that's just that was a poll that I looked at today, and he's been higher in Virginia. Had he put Glenn Youngkin on if you'd have put him on the ticket, it would have been all over. I mean, it would have been all over, period. I don't think there's any other way to say that. Imagine that if you have the state of Virginia going to Donald Trump, Kamala Harris has no path to victory, period. It's just that simple. That's 13 electoral college votes. So if somehow Donald Trump is able to siphon off Virginia, Kamala Harris cannot be president of the United States. I don't see anything on this map that would differ from that. So, Mark, I put it to you. What do you think about what I just said? And do you agree or disagree with me? Why or why not? And folks, do the same in the comments. Let me know if you see it the way I see it. Do you think I've been drinking too much tea today? I mean, let me know if you agree or disagree, or if you have any questions about that. Mark, it's your turn, my friend. What do you think?
I think that J.D. Vance was the right pick because he has friends in Silicon Valley that are now supporting Trump. That's a big deal.
He could be the right pick. I want to be clear since you mentioned it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I have anything against J.D. Vance. I'm not saying I dislike him. What I'm saying is I didn't really know much about him, and I wasn't sure if it's the right pick. But I have no doubt Donald Trump's more astute in the political arena than I am, and I'm sure he had his reasons for picking him, and it might turn out to be the best pick in the world, period. I'm just saying, had he picked Youngkin, in my opinion, it would have made Virginia a state that's in play. I will also say that I think her pick of Tim Walz was nothing short of a gift for Donald Trump. I've had people tell me, well, even if she would have picked that, I forgot who that Jewish governor is in Pennsylvania.
Shapiro.
My opinion is Shapiro. That's right. Shapiro, that's one sharp dude. I mean, he's sharp. Let's just call it what it is. He's a good talker. I don't agree with him, but he's a pit bull, man. I mean, that's the kind of guy you need, and he's very popular in Pennsylvania. And if he could put that in play, that would be interesting. Comment?
Yeah. The people in Pennsylvania are pissed off because they take this as a slap in the face to Pennsylvania, and they said, we will not support her.
Well, I've heard that one of the many reasons she did not want to pick Governor Shapiro was, number one, Governor Shapiro outshines her, which is not difficult to do. But I kind of get that. He does seem like a person that should be on the top of the ticket versus in the number 2 position. And the fact, unfortunately, that he's Jewish. You know, I hate these identity politics. I hate this skin color thing. I hate all this stuff. I mean, I really do. It aggravates me. I wish it didn't exist. We're all brothers and sisters in Christ. That's the bottom line. We're all human beings. Ends of story. We need to stop this nonsense of white dudes for Camilla and all. It's aggravating to me. And if I had one wish, that'd be one thing I'd wipe off the map clearly. Having said that, there is a large let's just say there's a chunk of people in Northern Illinois. I know for a fact I've been there many times and seen it, but definitely in Wisconsin and Michigan, they have a heavy percentage of Muslims that are moving there. And I love everybody, right? But let's be honest about it. A lot of these Muslim communities, they do not assimilate. They do not blend with the community that they're living in, generally speaking. And they don't like Jews. I mean, there's no other way to say it. And the fact that Shapiro is Jewish was something she had to be concerned about. And one of the reasons that she did not pick him. It's unfortunate. I think we should never turn our back on Israel. I think the Bible says that. And I mean, they're the only democracy in the Middle East, and they're attacked on all sides almost all the time. Right when they were reformed back in the 1940s, what happened the next day? They had, what, 3, 4, 5 countries declare war on them. It's just amazing, the situation that's going on over there. But that was one of the reasons she didn't pick that Shapiro guy from Pennsylvania. And my opinion is I think that's a mistake. Minnesota is not really something that I think is in play, and we'll have to see how that plays out. Let me see what the comments are. If you have a comment on that, Mark, just go ahead and start speaking. Otherwise, I want to see what everybody's got.
Yeah. Back to J.D. Vance for a second. J.D. Vance and Vivek are best friends. They went to law school together. Vivek.
J.D. Vance and who?
J.D. Vivek Ramaswamy.
Oh, Vivek, that's right. Vivek and JD are buds. Okay,
yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, and Vivek introduced JD to JD's now wife, Usha. She's a smart cookie. She's a lawyer that tries cases at the Supreme Court. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and that's his wife. Is that what you said?
Right. And
yeah, she is a very smart lady. I've seen her in interviews. All right, let me check out some of these comments here. Go ahead, Mark.
Just real quick. I think that when JD runs in 2028, that Vivek is going to be his vice president.
You know, I think that's one other thing too to consider when you look at these polls. I'm kind of glad my mind triggered on that. Remember this: on these polls, Donald Trump is always underrated in these polls, i.e., 2016 election. No one saw it coming. I think out of all the polling they had at that time, there was only 1 or 2 polls out of 200 polls that were showing that he could win. So just something to think about. Generally, Donald Trump is frankly underrated in these polls. And I've been thinking, why is that? Why is Donald Trump normally not completely and properly reflected in the polling? And I think the reason in part has to do with when someone calls you up and says, hey, I'm taking a poll. Do you support Donald Trump? I think a lot of people are apprehensive to say I do. They're apprehensive to say, yeah, I support this man. I think they're worried about backlash or retribution or something along them lines. There's something there because there's a lot of people that don't want to be associated or quoted as that they're for him. What do you think? Think there's some truth to that?
I agree with that. You know, we're living in a sad time in our country where political rivals are becoming the actual enemy. And I think that's
American Anna says, I do think Trump has Michigan and Pennsylvania. I think you're right. And the last poll I saw out of Wisconsin, he was slightly ahead, or it was actually a dead heat with Harris. And let me just scroll through see if there's any election comments here. All right, good. And then, okay, Monique. Wow, President Kennedy made a call to get King of yeah, that was in if you Google, you can simply Google it and type in something like well, you can just type in what you just put right there. John F. Kennedy or JFK calls Fulton County to bounce MLK, or just type in Fulton County apology to the King family. You should pull up with that too. That is an interesting take. I did not realize that till I was older, just how crooked Fulton County is, and frankly, just other areas and other parts of the country. Listen, you know, I bleed red, white, and blue. I love America. I just love
Yeah.
our country. We are so blessed. But folks, we have problems. We have issues. We have corruption. We have things that need to be corrected. Corruption is one of the things we need to be worried about the most. In my opinion, that's what brought down the Roman Empire. And corruption can bring down any country, and it will bring down any country if it's allowed to continue. That's the reason why when we see corruption, that's the one thing that we need to show no mercy on. People in a position of public trust that violate that trust have to be dealt with quickly and harshly and to the fullest extent of the law. And I'm sure most people agree with that. In the sermon, you're right. People, human nature is people do whatever they have to do to try to keep power. It's just like Joe Biden being pushed out of office. I've heard now it was 17 million votes approximately for President Biden to be the head of the Democratic ticket, and yet these people decided they were just going to say, no, we're not going to go with that. We know better. They did not get rid of him because of his health. If that was the case, he would have to be out of office right now. They got rid of him because they thought his poll numbers were too low. And they accused Donald Trump and the Republicans of being the party that is not the Democratic Party. What kind of nonsense is that? What kind of nonsense is that you can take 17 million votes and say, forget these votes, they're out of here, but we're going to do something because we know better. And we're going to go ahead and put Kamala Harris as the head of the ticket, and then we're going to let her pick Goofy Tim out there in Minnesota. It's surreal to the point where you don't even think it's America when you hear that nonsense.
Right.
Yeah, you're probably right, Zach. Special K polls on that. If you got a comment, Mark, just speak up about it. And I do appreciate, folks, all the comments and everything coming in. It's a good discussion, lively discussion, and I like all the comments and questions. It's going to be an interesting year. I'm curious if y'all think that Trump or Harris is going to win. Type in the comment real quick. I would like to just see. I meant to put a poll question in there, so I don't know if you do that. But I would imagine most of the viewers here would probably be supporting Trump. But whether you support him or not, who do you think is going to win? I'm curious about that. I'm going to put Trump for me, but
Yeah, I think
we'll just have to see how that. Yeah, I would hope so. It's Trump. Think about this. Go ahead, Mark.
I think that this debate coming up on the 10th is going to be the nails in her coffin. Because
the first debate went really well for her boss.
Yeah. She said today that she will do other debates if Donald Trump shows up for the debate on the 10th. And Donald Trump said, "Oh, I will be there."
Yeah, well, we'll just have to see how that plays out. My expectation is she's going to have to answer questions for her policies and what she stands for. And I've been putting together a collection of videos showing just not how liberal she is, but how radical she is. It's more than just being liberal. It's this radical agenda. I want to briefly just say this so our viewers understand this. And when you're talking to your friends, you can, tell your friends these facts. I don't understand why people are not screaming this from every mountaintop they can. Between Kamala Harris and Tim Walz signed a bill into legislation that effectively made it mandatory that in all the boys and girls bathrooms, boys and girls restrooms, they had to have, among other things, tampons in the bathrooms. Can you believe that? In middle school, high school, the restrooms there for the boys have to have a tampon dispenser. Just crazy.
Right.
This Tim Walz. Yeah, and he also sponsored legislation and signed it into law. There's if I had the photo, I'd pull it up right now. But basically, they had little kids around him. If you want to have your kids have a sex change, forget you. In Minnesota, if your kid Johnny comes on one day and says, "Mom, I want to take it off," you have to let him take it off. If not, the state can take your child. It's really just that simple. Imagine a kid at that age. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know anything about human relations or anything along them lines. I mean, what a bunch of nonsense. that this is all about. And
I'm
these
gonna,
kids at these young ages are making these type of choices. What is going on? It's
right.
aggravating. It's just it's anti everything we've ever stood for. I'm all about freedom and rights, but you cannot give children 10 years old, 8 years old, the ability to say, you know, I've decided I'm a girl today. What is that about? You don't know your complete sexual identity or who you are until sometime when you're a mature individual. I mean, I think that's pretty easy to understand. And let's be honest about it, when you're a child, you can pretty well be manipulated. You can be steered in a certain way. It's just really scary
Yeah.
what they've and this Tim Walz guy, this is the guy that came up with this weird stuff. Wanting to tell you that Trump is weird or that JD Vance is weird. It was Tim Walz that came up with this. This is the same guy who's
Right.
lying about his military service. He's a de facto deserter, signed bills. Let's say he signed bills against conversion therapy. I mean, it's these people on everything and every major policy that's going on, they are just not necessarily left. They're like radical left. And a lot of people don't understand this either. Kamala Harris has stated on more than one occasion that she believes in what's called a mandatory buyback program for guns. Now, so everybody imagine this, a mandatory buyback program for guns. Let me translate this for you in English. Imagine goon squads of police going door to door to collect your gun. Now,
Right.
it's a mandatory buyback program. You can bet that the government's going to give you full, fair price for your gun, but they're going to take your gun. That's exactly
Yep.
what their stated goal is. And I learned a long time ago when people tell you who they are, believe them, ladies and gentlemen. When they tell you who
Right.
they are, you need to believe these people. And when they say, we will take your guns, believe they're going to take your guns. Don't believe it's just going to be, oh, we just want the assault weapons. Because after that, then they decide, well, a 45 caliber gun is too much. No one needs that. All you need to protect yourself maybe is a 22. And by the way, having a clip that has 8, 9, 10, that's too much. You need one or two shots to protect yourself. I mean, it just gets crazier. And it's like we're living in a backwards world. It's like we fell in a hole
Right.
and we're not Alice in Wonderland. We're like Alice in Crazy Nutland. It's if I wasn't living it at this point in my life, I wouldn't believe it. And you had Kamala Harris at the time they were having all these different riots in Minnesota back in 2020. She was supporting this, what was that, the Minnesota, I forgot the initials for it, but it
Freedom,
was basically, what was it? Oh, the fund, yeah,
Minnesota Freedom.
Minnesota, yeah, the FF, Minnesota Freedom Fund. I got other initials that stands for. I'll tell you later. But at any rate, it was the
Yeah.
Minnesota Freedom Fund, and the bottom line is these people were wreaking havoc and destroying property, and she was essentially encouraging people to donate to post the bail so these people get out of jail, and at least one of them got out and killed somebody. And that's what Kamala Harris advocated. And her loony buddy, that Tim Walz, this is the governor that waited 3 or 4 days before calling in the National Guard to restore order after the killing of what was that guy's name? George. I'm drawing a
George
blank. It's
Floyd.
Floyd. Yeah, George Floyd. That's
Floyd.
right. Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? They don't always tell them stories accurately either, as far as what happens. Like in that one in Minnesota, that Ferguson nonsense. I forgot that Michael Brown. He wasn't killed by
Yeah.
a cop. That's not true. He was shot by a cop because this guy told him to stop. He wouldn't stop, and he charged him with the intent to kill
Yep.
him or to create great bodily harm. This
Right.
guy, this Brown, just got done committing strong arm robbery, and then they made it like something's
Right.
wrong with Ferguson. I just don't believe some of this nonsense when I see it, but it's just surreal. And if
I'm,
you notice, most of the
I'm gonna
problems we have out there are these liberal cities. Go ahead, Mark.
I'm gonna have to get off because my
All right, you
iPad is
you
about
you
to
go
die.
ahead. No, that's not a problem. Your contact information, people can reach you at on your channel, right? What's your channel for everybody to know?
Yeah. Sapphire
At
Ridge
the
News.
That's right, Sapphire Ridge News. That's no problem, my friend. I appreciate you joining me today. It's always good to hear from you, and I'll be talking with you soon. So I definitely appreciate you joining in. Back on what I was talking about here, these people between Kamala Harris and her nutty friend Tim Walz, the stuff that they want, the stuff they sponsor is absolutely insane. I think that's one thing that's going to harm her in Pennsylvania. She's anti-fracking. She's anti-oil drilling. She doesn't want us to do anything as far as producing oil, pulling oil out of the ground. It was her and Biden that killed that Keystone pipeline to bring the oil sands from Canada all the way down, I guess, to the Houston area so that they could go ahead and refine the oil right there. And we wonder why the gas and the prices are so high. Isn't that nuts? What do y'all say about that? That's just some crazy stuff on there. All right. Yeah, I see your questions on that. Yeah, it's nuts on there. She also, how about the ladies out there that have fought all these years for like Title IX and women's rights and women being able to essentially play sports and do all this other stuff they've been doing? And now what you have in the Olympics? You had two biological men that essentially took the gold and the silver medals. That one girl got pummeled so hard she had to quit. And it's all because these people don't have the strength of character and the courage to say, you know what, that's not going to happen. We have to have rules. If they want to compete, that's fine. They need to have a trans league or an intersex league. They need to have a men's league, and then of course a women's league. Is this, my friends, is this hard to understand or is this complicated? And Zach, I know you know it's not complicated. Yeah, a cat's claw can make it. That's a good way to think about it. They want us all to get rid of our our gas cars and replace them with electricity. First of all, we have an electricity grid that cannot handle it. It cannot handle the electrical needs we have right now. They're already worried about that. We haven't built a power plant in this country in 30 or 40 years. More crazy liberal nonsense. And the batteries that go into these electric vehicles, and I'm all for electrical vehicles, fine, but not mandates. Guess where they get these batteries from? Most of these rare earth minerals that go into these batteries, we have to depend on places like China for these batteries. So they want us all to drive electrical vehicles without expanding the electrical grid. They don't want us to drill for any more oil, no more fracking, no more offshore drilling. They want women to compete with men in the sports. These people are nuts. They want us all to have open borders. No one's checked out who comes in our country. What is going on with what's happening today? Folks, it is just absolutely insane. I am going to start landing the plane myself. I again want to thank Logan Black for donating today. Appreciate your super chat, stickers, whatever it is y'all guys bought. I definitely appreciate it. And obviously, I want to thank my friend Zach. You guys are the bomb, both of you. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate each and every one of my friends that have joined me today. Zach, American Nana, Monique. I appreciate all you guys. Rose, thanks for being here as always. And even the folks that I haven't really had time to answer a bunch of questions with, like discernment, you're always welcome to join us here on stage. You can always call in anytime. But I do appreciate you taking time to let us know what you're thinking. Everybody that's commented or that supports the channel, folks, it is always a pleasure to sit down and have a chat with you. I hope that y'all got something out of this. I know I enjoy sitting down and having time to speak with you. And obviously, I want to thank Sapphire, my friend Sapphire Ridge News. His channel is at Sapphire Ridge News. He loves I think he puts out a video every day. So if you haven't checked his channel out, be sure to take time and hit his channel up over there. I'll try to put a link in the description if I remember to do so. But at any rate, it's easy to find. Just at Sapphire Ridge News. If you have any questions or comments, my number, my contact information's on the screen, and you can always reach out to me at that. Yeah, there's my number, and other information right there in case you need to reach out, chat, whatever's going on. So, my friends, always like to say, keep that mind free, never give up. Until next time, I am J.R. Dukes.